and welcome to this new comparison video. I've wanted to do this for a long time. In fact, I've had these yo-yos for almost a year now, and I've wanted to compare them head to head for all that time and just never worked up the energy to do so. So without further ado, here is the current lineup. First of all, the OG, the one you all know best, the one that gets recommended all the time, the Speedaholic XX. I got a very nice fade colorway of this. It's the plastic with the metal hub, with a lovely finger spin dimple, which I cannot do without it spinning. The original, the one that started it all. This is the XX. This is not the newest version of the XX, which I'm told has been slightly modified, but I wasn't able to get my hands on that. But it has a lovely H-ish shaped profile. It has the great finger spin dimple and just all around great plastic yo-yo. Following very closely to that and feeling very much like it, but slightly updated, the Speedaholic FX. Almost exactly the same shape, slightly different finger spin hub when you compare it, slightly different rims because the rims are now aluminum or aluminium. So this was, honestly, these two feel the most like each other, the most comparable. Then an April Fool's rolled out at some point, and they came up with this thing, the Speedaholic XF. Now the Speedaholic XF has on the yo-yo itself, let's see if I can force the camera to focus. I cannot. It has written, the yo-yo can't do finger spin, but can you do the DNA? You can. So it's a capped Speedaholic FX. Yes, capped Speedaholic FX, which kind of just the caps make it feel really different. Of course, this is not a finger spin yo-yo, but it can do the DNA. At some point, and I think it was last summer, they brought out the Speedaholic MN, the mono metal version of the Speedaholic. It's got slightly less chunkier rims, it's a little more slim feeling, a bit more of an H profile, wonderful finger spin dimple. But last of all, the one that feels probably least like the plastic Speedaholic XX, the Speedaholic, I forget now, Max, a bimetal version of the Speedaholic XX. So this is the Speedaholic Max. It has no finger spin dimple, which is unusual for the model. It does, however, just like the, I don't think you can see it. Oh yeah, there it is. See the polished little area around the bearing? This one has that as well. There's a nice little polished area right there around the bearing. Nice chunky metal rims, but all are same width, same diameter, one-on-one. I have to say these two feel a little bit like a different yo-yo, but let's see how they stack up against each other. Here we go. First up, some speed or rail combos with the XX, which blows through it. It's very fast, it's very light feeling, and it just wants to move through the air. And this on the bind. The FX does the same thing, but it feels a little bit more stable and a little bit more like it has a bit more of a kick when it comes back to the hand, if it binds. The MN feels slow, or the XF feels slow and a little sluggish on tricks like these, but it does well. Also fail on the bind. The MN just wants to blow through this. It's light, it's fast, it's powerful, it's stable, it wants to go. It is very good, and also does make the bind. The Max does everything that the MN does, but with more leftover power. For the next trick, set some longer tech.
stuff. The XX does fairly well, but it tilts a little bit during the longer combo. You can see me having to move slightly off center a little bit there. But it does make it through all the way and has a decent bind at the end. The FX does very well as well. It goes through the combo fairly easily with plenty of spin time at the end left over for a bit more of a kick at the end of the bind, despite my flubbing some elements here and there. In a weird way, the XF kind of feels like it was made for this type of trick. It goes through, it has plenty of power left over at the end, it's stable, it rejects the string nicely when it has to. Honestly, it did fairly well for this kind of trick. The MN does well. It blows through it without much of a problem. It kind of feels like it wants more at the end of the trick set, like power was left over, and it made it easy to land all the tricks that were needed in this little trick set. The max was kind of different. It blew through it at the beginning very well until I got to a certain element where the string needs to be rejected right there. And then every time the string would bind up in the yo-yo, twist around it instead of rejecting right away. And this happened enough that I felt like I had to show it. That's the third time in a row now. There's the fourth time in a row. I did manage to complete the whole thing in the end, but somehow this kept happening enough that I felt like it needed to be shown. I've not had any problems with other rejection tricks with this yo-yo, but this was just pretty typical that it kept failing in the same way at the end. Also, I seemed to have been getting tired of the combo at the end, taking much more time with the max to get the whole thing, but despite that, it still had plenty of power to come back with a nice little kick. For grind tricks, the XX does very well. The plastic is nice to the touch, it's smooth, and it goes through grind tricks very well. And as you can see, they all seem to have a bit of a wider gap. Maybe I should have used thicker string, but they all, except for one of them, miss the grind bind that I attempt at the end, which is weird because it's one of those binds that I do a lot and I usually don't miss it. Same for the FX, it came through well, but with the XF and the FX, you have to watch that you don't touch the rims during grinds. If you do, they slow down massively. Other than that, they do well. Then the only yo-yo to actually bind in the way that I wanted it to, the MN, which was fast growing into my favorite yo-yo out of the series throughout this review. The Max did very well in this version of Calypso, even if it did miss that grind again. And there it goes again, somehow. Up next, finger spins, starting with the XX, which comes in at a very respectable 23-second finger spin, which is plenty of time to do any kind of finger spin tricks you want. The FX ramps that up with an extra 10 seconds. Also does very nicely, which also gives you plenty of time. There's a lot of tricks you can do in 10 seconds. The XF is not made for this kind of trick, but that of course is the whole gimmick. I was not able to get any kind of nice spin or palm grind from it. The MN, however, kind of blew me away with a full 51-second finger spin, which is the best one out of this bunch. I was not expecting it to, but here it is. And the Max, which is not made for it, but did for a yo-yo that doesn't have a finger spin dimple, a very respectable 9 seconds. On the horizontal skinned gerbil, the XX actually surprised me, so either I've gotten better or it's actually better for horizontals than I thought. The FX did similarly well. It seemed to be easier to keep it stable and on plane though. Same thing for the XF, although it does feel like it moves a little bit slower while you play it. The MN did excellently as well, especially for a mono metal. He stays nicely on plane, came back with a nice little kick to the hand. And the Max is probably the best for this. It just stays on plane no matter what you do, even if you throw in a little extra. What is a fingerspin oriented yo-yo review without at least doing the DNA, which works nicely on all 4 yo-yos, except for, of course, the XF, which you have to get creative for and do it out of a bind or out of a nice little sidewinder to check your string tension.
Conclusion time. So, Speedaholic Plastic XX, excellent yo-yo, great fun, just a lot of, it's not expensive, it performs well, it's on par with things like the Shooting Star from my yo-yo and many other yo-yos. It's just a good yo-yo, plus great brand. I have got a really pretty one, they have some really cool looking additions. I can happily recommend that. It's not the most powerful, not the most stable, but it is a cheap plastic yo-yo, so it's not what I expect. Great yo-yo. FX, slightly ramped up version, more stable, more powerful. The fingerspin is a little different as well. Doesn't really matter too much to me. For grinds, it's a little less good because of the slick surface that tends to grab a little bit during grinds, but if you can manage to avoid those, it's also great. Personally, I think it's worth the increase in price from the Speedaholic Plastic, but that's personal opinion. The XF, great fun, but it's a gimmick. It does play very different. It feels a little slower, it feels hollow when you play it. It's very stable, it's good. I wouldn't pick this unless you're just a giant fan of the Speedaholic series and you really want to complete the set, then it's great. Or if you happen to like capped yo-yos, then this is a great option for not too much money. Speedaholic MN is probably, I think, the price quality most performant version. I've seen it on sale for like 35 bucks at the moment, which is a great steal. When it first came out, it was 50, which is maybe a little bit much, but it is a great yo-yo. Excellent finger spinner, it's stable. It's not the widest yo-yo, but none of them are. If you want competition level yo-yos, then there's other ones even within the C3 lineup, things like their Scintillator series or their Diver series, their Galaxy series, Galaxy Diver and such, which are more comp oriented, big tricks, great for those. These slightly less so, but they are great for things like tech. And finally, the Speedaholic Max, which is a monster for tech tricks. It's very stable, it has loads of power, and it's not too wide, which for, if you're a tech player, you like intricate string tricks, then this is really nice. But it feels like it could use for some thicker string because it tends to be a little bit slippy sometimes in the bind. But great yo-yo. It is not twice as good as the Speedaholic MN. So bimetals tend to be reserved for more the comp-oriented players. If you're not a comp-oriented player and you do want some of the performance of a bimetal, then this is a great option. But I don't think any of the current competitors will play with this because it's just too narrow. And nowadays comp tricks are more big tricks, big Eli Hop type things with twists and big whips and big slacky things. This is a little less for that. It's also the only one that doesn't feature a finger spin dimple. As long as you're not doing really long finger spins and you can actually decently finger spin, then this is just fine. But if you want to do loads of finger spin tricks, this is the exception to the Speedaholic series. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. On to the next one. The next video will be a little shorter, I think. See you later.